Yeah. Hello?
I've got a blue screen behind, just kind of like.
Oh, shit. I don't even. It's live, but I don't see you. I mean, I've just got a graphic up of music. I don't see you anywhere. Huh. Let me refresh it. No, people can't see me. I have a graphic and music up, but I'm waiting to go live till I see you, and I don't see you even connected. Try it again. Okay, well.
The last 3 times we recorded 3.
You've got mail.
Yeah, I don't see it. All right, we got it now. We've got everybody going. Can you hear me, Kevin?
Yeah,
Sorry about that,
yeah.
everybody. Technology
I don't
sometimes gets
see
the
you.
better
I
end of
can't
us.
see you, but I can hear you.
Okay, well, that's good enough. There's nothing really to see anyway. Um, man, tough day in Fayetteville. And what do you say?
I say welcome everyone to Hogvillenet YouTube Live. As bad as things are, hopefully we can get through this segment and talk about it a little bit, go through some of it. You know, we had a segment earlier in the week talking about the state of things and should there be a hot seat and, you know, what did that look like and how soon might a change come down. Interestingly enough, as we got later in the week, Blair, I had a source that told me that based on this meeting that you described and said was upcoming
Mm-hmm.
with Hunter Yurachek and the board, that there was a calming coming out of that, and that nothing serious was going to happen to anybody anytime soon, or at least that was the impression. And then you have today where it looks like the wheels have completely come off the football program in an embarrassing way. I mean, this is a team that came in, granted, a team that's a good football team in Notre Dame, a ranked team, but how good is Notre Dame really? They look like, you know, they look like a Super Bowl champion caliber NFL team against this defense. The offense wasn't very good today in either half. And it's just the same myriad of problems. And when you have it on both sides of the ball throughout, this is what you get, 56-13. And now I got to wonder, is there a reassessment? Is there a reevaluation in terms of the leadership and what happens next going into a bye week? You got 2 weeks, but to do what? I mean, if you stand, I mean, I think there's going to be some disruption in staff somewhere, if not at the top. But this is, we were talking about how bad this close game, 7-19 at this was not really other than the first 2 or 3 possessions, and by the time it was 14-3, Arkansas does get back within a score 14-10, but Notre Dame responds, and then it was night the rest of the way.
It seems like there's got to the clamor is for a head to roll. The question now is who or whose heads roll as a result of this. At least you've got to make it a change defensive coordinator, right? I mean, you just got to give something, sell something to give people hope, right?
Well, sometimes a hanging or a firing, those things happen all the time. They happen at the top. Certainly in corners, it's more frequently. I just think it's the nature of how bad the defense has been. It has been so bad that it doesn't look like it could be much worse. I've seen some bad defenses at Arkansas over the years, especially the last decade plus. When host Bobby Petrino was head coach, it's been mostly, let's just say it for what it is, it's been mostly a shit show with a few exceptions, a few seasons thrown in there that are exceptions to that. It might be the worst of it, though. And there's today, Notre Dame did what it wanted to do: 640 yards, over 400 through the air, over 200 on the ground, 8 touchdowns. In Arkansas, the punter never had to punt in this game. You go back to the Ole Miss game 2 weeks ago, Blair, and it was 2 punts for Ole Miss. Arkansas did a better job that day after getting scored on, throughout by, led by a backup QB. And ironically, in each game, we've seen backup QBs, including today, in these last in the game that happened against. Look at the touchdowns that Notre Dame scored today. How many of those did you see a Razorback in near proximity of the skill player making his way to the end zone? It didn't take a whole lot of effort to find the end zone from these guys once they got the ball in their hands and got their head downfield, got turned upfield, 15, 20 yards into the end zone, and there wasn't a Razorback in sight. That happened multiple times. I think at least on the side of the ball, it's not about, juggling personnel that you're going to plug and play without doing something in the leadership there, at least on that side of the ball, if you're not going to do anything beyond that.
Yeah, it's and then if you do make a change, you're going to have to probably elevate somebody on staff, and I mean it's a mess right now, and people are understandably very angry, want some answers, and I don't know if you're able to give them answers at this point. A lot of people looking at the chat, want to go with Petrino. I don't know if you can do that or not. There's all sorts of implications, but I mean, this was probably as bad and humiliating a defensive performance, as you said, that Arkansas fans have probably ever seen in a home game. I mean, I can think of the Miami game against in Little Rock, but that wasn't on camp. I mean, this was a packed house, national TV. Dave Pash is just teeing off on the program on the broadcast. I mean, it was a rough watch.
Well, you also had the worst performance by the offense this year, and it's been steadily bad when you look at these three consecutive losses in the second half. But in the halftime anyway, because they put up first half, and then today it was just barely scratching in either half. I mean, Arkansas scored all the points, I guess, in the first half. You got all 13. This was I was saying before after the Alabama A&M game, and you won that. What was it, 52-7? That I saw enough of the defense to realize the offensive personnel were going to have to stay healthy. They were going to have to figure out a way to correct the turnover problems from a year ago, and they were going to have to execute and outscore teams in shootouts to have a chance to win games. You always have to outscore the opponent to win games, right? But I said specifically, you'll be in a lot of shootouts if your offense is clicking, it's healthy, over having the self-inflicted wounds like the penalties that kill a good drive between the 20s, or taking those big chunk lost yardage plays on a QB sack, or these broken down plays after you've moved the ball. All of these things conspire, and that's why last year you had a top 10 offense nationally when you looked at yards per game. But scoring offense wasn't all that great because of all the self-inflicted wounds. A lot of times Arkansas is just beating itself, and that's how the game started for a while. And then Notre Dame's defense was actually solving things for Arkansas as we moved through. So defense, talking all watching that. I don't see how, beyond just not being ready to make a change at the top, I just don't see how at this point survives the season, whether it's at the end of the year, later on. Wouldn't shock me if something happens during the bye week to him. Again, going into that meeting with the board, check late in the week, coming out of that, hearing that everybody's safe for now. I mean, I just find it hard to believe that that'll be the case after showing. And I think it comes back to the defensive coordinator. If it only one head's going to roll, it'll probably be that at this time. And we'll see if that even happens.
How soon do you think that would happen if it does happen? Will it happen this weekend?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's possible. And you're in. This is a little different than what we've done the previous. Of course, we recorded that. Am I coming through it all? Because I think I'm getting a message here that maybe.
Yeah. Are you on cellular or are you on Wi-Fi?
I think I'm on my mobile plan here. Let's see if I can switch it and if it helps.
Yeah.
Let's see if this helps at all.
Okay. Perfect. It might take a minute or two. We'll see. Of course, let's see if he got disconnected or not. It shows he's connected. He might have to re-log in to bring him back in. But as we noted, the defense very disappointing. And you wonder, too, that opening drive, settling for a field goal. Field goals are not going to win games for this team, not with the defense playing like they are. So that was very surprising to say the least, especially after last week when you had a similar situation. Just very conservative. You cannot be conservative with the defense that Arkansas is showing. We're trying to get Kevin back here momentarily. I think we might have lost him when he switched over to his Wi-Fi. So we'll see if we can get him reconnected. Looking at some of the questions, what does Arkansas do? Obviously, you've got to make some kind of changes. I mean, you've got to do something to appease the fan base at this point. I mean, people want answers. There's not going to, I don't know if a permanent solution is at hand, but you got to do something to give everybody some hope for the remainder of the season, if nothing else, to put yourself in strong position so you can make some moves in the off season. Is that, if that is likely what Arkansas is looking at? I mean, it was just, man. I mean, if it will be interesting to see what the recruiting fallout will be, because as we mentioned, the announcer is not very kind at all talking about Arkansas, especially that last touchdown in the second half, talking about how Arkansas's first team defense was still in there. Notre Dame was using their second team offense and just slicing right through the Razorbacks. I mean, that was just absolutely brutal to watch. What else we got in the chat? Throw some questions at us if you would in the chat. I mean, we appreciate the comments. We really do. That's awesome. But it's just, of course, this is all kind of hastily thrown together, so we'll get the hang of it eventually. But just tough day to be an Arkansas Razorback. And, I mean, let's look at this. I mean, we talked about this Wednesday night on the live show. 14 seasons in the SEC, Arkansas 69 and 96 overall, and then you see the SEC record 29 and 80. That is just very rough. And then we've got Mr. McPherson back. You're back.
Am I back?
You are back. Looking good.
The production value today resembles the defense. Are we cursed based on that performance? Maybe.
It could be. It's just all throughout the state of Arkansas. It's just very, very rough today.
Whatever you've done here, Blair, I can now see you. You've popped up
wonderful.
on the screen for the first time. So
wonderful.
So I don't know. I did a lot of talking before I went off here, and I don't know what got through or didn't. But the bottom line is, people say calling for heads to roll. I don't think that's unfair. If there's a pathway to start at the top in this bye week, during this bye week, and you can figure out something that you think can make that a positive more so than the negative impacts of that, I say do it. At minimum, something's got to change on that staff while you have a bye week, because you've got an extra week not only to prepare your players, but to maybe get another voice, change up the voices. I just don't know, man. This looked like a team that quit today in multiple times. I know they came out of the second half and got a defensive stop, kind of, sort of. They end up getting a stop on that possession after the fake punt turned out a big play and, moved shifted the field position. And I think they had at that point a 1st and 10 inside Arkansas's 40. So outside of that effort on that one drive, this felt like and looked like a team that kind of let go of the rope, so to speak. And anytime you've got huge question marks and hot seats for leadership, that's just a bad look. The players, while they won't maybe verbally say it, their body language, the lack of effort, and some of the things we saw today is effectively saying we need to be led. We're not being led. Even if it's subconscious, it's obvious.
Yeah, I mean, just the energy level. Granted, it was noticeably better when they came out in the second half, but it was almost non-existent in the first half. And just the tackling was just absolutely atrocious. I mean, the one run that went for 29 yards, looked like he ran about 70, reminded me of Antonio Langham again in Tuscaloosa against Arkansas's defense, where it seemed like on a punt return he literally ran around everybody that was in a Razorback uniform on his way to the end zone. It was just, I don't know that anybody honestly expected Arkansas to win the game today, but I don't think anyone anticipated just the
Well,
beatdown in the first half. That
you
was
were
just
you got
stunning.
controlled in, you got controlled in the trenches on both sides of it. But here's what these mano a mano opportunities when you have an angle for a tackle and your linebackers and defensive backs freeze up, they don't close and they don't close together with multiple hats. And so and then when they do get an opportunity to make contact, they don't wrap up. They almost get alligator arms, and there's no wrap up. It's almost like a tap,
Mm-hmm.
and a strong skilled player, whether a big running back or a big receiver or whatever, a football player, you tap them, they're going to run through that and keep going. I mean, the DB's not getting, whether it's just getting beat, and then you look like you might have a play or two that's successful to get off the field, and then you get a penalty. You somehow find a way to muck it up with a penalty and extend the drive. And the few times that Notre Dame didn't have a lot of third downs to have to convert.
Oh no.
Once they blew out the game early, they had one or two in the first half at some point, and they converted both. But they were getting it on first and second down throughout this game and jumping out to this big lead. You okay over there, Blair?
Yeah, I'm trying to. I've got like 15 screens, and I'm trying to pull up stats and read the chat over here, and it's just
yeah.
I've got sensory overload. I was going to try to look up because you mentioned the third downs. I think I recall at one point in the first half, Notre Dame was 1 for 1 on third down, and I'm like, holy cow! Or maybe it was in the second half, and it's like, man, if you're not causing a team to even have third downs, I mean, that's unbelievable.
Right. And Notre Dame did a good job of mix and run and really good job of being balanced. They were just choosing, had no answers, but it's not like a bad game again. Memphis had it away with you, nearly 300 yards on the ground. Ole Miss, with a backup QB, he's playing well, but still in all, this is a tough go here for this defense and consecutive win. It's not like the competition is way down after this. It just only gets. This is the SEC. This is an improvement in need of real leadership. It's you could say, well, it's personnel. The NIL's not there to compete. Come on, man. You lost to Memphis last week with some of the same problems. You get penalties on both sides of the ball. Bad lost yardage plays on offense. You're an anemic scoring offense the second half. But the defense, again, just laying into it. Again, I remember Joe's first season as Ken Hatfield. And there was like a 60-point game and a 50-point. The defense was atrocious. There have been one or two that I can thought about it and go down and say as bad, but as bad as the program's been for the most part in the last decade plus, and some bad defenses, I don't know that I've seen one awful. And again, Notre Dame, 8 touchdowns. I don't know how many of those were you didn't see a Razorback in the screen for the final, 30, 20, 15, 10 yards. It wasn't like they were throwing over your defense and it was ballistic missile time over your defense. No, we're talking about getting something quick or getting something over the middle round. And guys just kind of clowning on the defense. I mean, it wasn't like there was just a straight line either for some of these scoring, just zigzagging. It was, again, junior high and junior high person. As bad as that's what it does.
Yeah, it was all. I mean, guys out of position, well out of position. I mean, it was unbelievable the amount of open space that Notre Dame had to run through. I mean, just utterly embarrassing, really, for Arkansas. I mean, just embarrassing.
And you saw Notre Dame, as good as that program has been, I think, played for a national championship last year. Started 0-2, playing a tough schedule. On Purdue last week. So you knew coming in that this might be a lot of defense. You were really hoping back at home that maybe the defense would to and maybe make some of their own breaks and just click in both halves once this year against the team of the Paul. It turned out the opposite for the offense. It had its way, and the defense was exposed beyond exposed. I mean, it was worse than the previous two games were awful. And then I think the other thing is you look at Notre Dame and all the standards that Notre Dame was able to set as a program. You know, their fact ever. Did they say ever to have multiple touchdowns both on the ground through talking about Jeremiah Love receiving 2 rushing.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Haven't done theirs. I mean, it was just, you know, you basically are when the highlight reel in at their team bank, when they roll it out, my highlights are going to be against the Arkansas team, at least half.
If not more. I mean, just every promo for Notre Dame that's going to air on NBC the rest of the year is going to have video from this game. Just absolutely atrocious. But I mean, where do you go from here? How do you turn? And this is the thing in the NIL era. These guys are. I mean, it can't be based on performance. So how do you change the mindset of having some pride and going out there?
I mean, I think you may for a long year, whether you make a move sooner rather than later at the top. And my feeling is you get a jump start on search. You should be working on that now anyway, and then figure out the softest way to land everybody. Can you get Pittman to agree to something and work on this during the bye week and announce something? This will be, you know, he'll step down at the end of the year, going to remain with the foundation or something like that. Yeah. Get him a package together. Get yourself fast tracking where everybody's on the same page and there's not finger pointing. And I said it before, you know, Hunter Yurachek, if he went into that meeting with the Board of Trustees and comes out with nobody in danger and he's explained away what his comments were at the Touchdown Club, it doesn't matter how real and how true what he said was. It's the way that it was delivered, and it's the sound bite that resonates. I still think that, you know, are folks just too comfortable right now given the pressure cooker that they should. I mean, so
it's a valid
until
point.
we hear
really
something definitive about one head actually something happening, and maybe the patsy is Travis Williams. Maybe that's where it starts. Honestly, you know, he's going to have to share blame in this, but I look at the personnel, I look what they have, and it's more than just. But man, they don't have a plan. You know, they don't have a. You know, they bring in a soft, wet paper towel, you know, to a grenade fight or a ballistic missile fight. They don't, you know, they're just not prepared to compete. Right. You know, they're not. And I don't see that changing even if you fire somebody, but I think you got to start with making a change somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, you can only do so much. And I've often asked former players this, what can you change at this point? And really, there's not a lot you can change because you have such a limited time. You have the 20-hour rule. One thing to keep in mind, Marcus Woodson is the co-defensive coordinator. So technically Arkansas lists 2 coordinators, even though Travis Williams has the title of defensive coordinator and does call the defense. Do you put Woodson in charge, or do you bring somebody else, or do you have maybe a consultant on staff who's a former defensive coordinator? You put him in. But I think one thing we really would like to know, who is evaluating the players on the defensive side? Because these are your best you're putting out there. Obviously, the evaluations are either extremely off or the coaching is extremely off. I mean, it doesn't add up to be this bad, does it?
Well, yeah, I think it's a perfect storm of poor evaluation and recruiting, poor evaluation with what you have once you start going into camp or whatever you're doing, starting this, going back to the spring, game to game, assessing, you know, how do you motivate guys? I think there's a whole lot that's wrong here. And I see some defeatism on both sides of the ball now. The guys are just look defeated. The body language is just not good. And it's been a cocktail for disaster. today, I mean, it just imploded. It was exploded. It was on display. It was exposed. Arkansas has been for over a decade now a middle at best, often lower tier SEC team.
Yeah.
And this is year 6 under the leadership of a coach that had a good season. He salvaged a couple more by getting to 500, getting to a bowl game, and then you go and win the Liberty Bowl, against another middling team from some other league. I mean, that sounds like complete discrediting what we've seen, but what is the standard? I guess it goes back to that. What are the fair expectations?
Yeah.
I think a fan expects a championship contender every year, Blair, is probably not realistic, but you should be in the hunt once every maybe once or twice in a decade for a league championship potentially. But being, an 8-7 win team more consistently in a regular season, I think that's an achievable goal for this program, unless you land on the right coach, and it's even better than that. Because we seeded other programs that have kind of been written off for, if not a decade, more than that, and they get it turned around. Look what's going on at Vanderbilt. I'm not going to call that a championship caliber program right now, but it's a ranked program, and it's Vanderbilt. Please weigh in, because I think a change is not only imminent, but how soon. It wouldn't ruffle my feathers one bit for something to be done at the very top, beginning during this 2-week stretch here between games.
There are going to be some phone lines burning up across the state. And you mentioned the SEC, and again, the 14 seasons since the league expanded to bring in Missouri and A&M, Arkansas has only won 25% of the conference games. 5 winning seasons, no 10-win seasons, only had a winning conference record once. And then now, of course, you bring in Oklahoma and Texas into the equation, and Arkansas, for the first time ever, is surrounded on all borders by conference rivals. So what do you do to make yourself stand out? Because you had kind of that exclusive window in the SEC in your first years in the league, and then when it expanded, that kind of went away. So I don't know. I mean, you're kind of back to we hear a lot of about money and everything, but we're kind of college football. We're still down to it's still like 10 teams every year, the same 10. It seems like can make some noise every now and then. There's an outlier, but it's hard to sustain that. But man, we're talking about just trying to get back to respectability. It's like the Ford years when Arkansas couldn't beat SMU. You just wanted to be respectable and beat SMU. Now can't beat Memphis, or any regional team. It's kind of a free for all now. And does this make it harder to rally support to get the money to come in to the program, because there's so much uncertainty?
Well, that's the problem is the more that you accept the floundering and the more that you look like you're misstepping with decisions, the least likely the folks that write checks. Arkansas needs some check writing warriors right now.
Yeah.
Some folks who come in and treat their checkbook and their pen like a sword and just start, but you gotta have a plan. If you do that, you gotta have something that makes sense. And so it is touchy and tough, but I don't think Arkansas has been realistic about where things have been trending in terms of with the money part of it and having a plan to move ahead, a change. I thought a change probably made sense last year. Mm-hmm. And I think there was some behind the scenes. One source told me they tried to get Sam to agree to come into the season knowing this would be his last year, explain it as a retirement upcoming, and so that they could transition that way and figure some out. Because NIL, everything where Arkansas is behind right now, it just compiles, right? And the last thing you want are buyouts and kind of having to reboot. Then that's going to affect personnel again. But man, you're not going in the right direction. That's clear. So even if you add a few more lumps, bruise, and abrasions and bumps and bruises here for a little bit, consider that a short-term problem if you can get the right plan enacted and move away to another opportunity. The problem with that is if you don't have a plan to improve it, you might be right back where you are with the next guy. That's not a reason to say, "Oh, fear, don't do anything."
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's not just as simple as, okay, we just make the change. Who's in the leadership position to make the right change and push the right buttons? Because on some level, it's a crapshoot no matter how smart the group in the room is.
Yeah, I mean, if there was a perfect plan, everybody would follow it. But there's not a perfect plan.
Right.
But like you say, with the plan, I don't know that anybody knows if there is a plan because one has not been articulated. And to me, it's going to be hard to get people to donate and get behind the program when you don't even have a plan to sell them on. And then when you involve money, well, people want return on investment. That's why we see a lot of questions about NIL. Uh, People want something for their money, especially in the economy today. So it compounds and compounds and compounds upon itself, and it just makes it even harder for a school like Arkansas right now with its football situation to get out because you can't even see the light at the end of the tunnel right now.
Yeah, this is where leadership and uh, relationships and a vision for a path that gets this done, where the fan base is going to rally around it. They're going to buy into it, and they see the light at the end of the tunnel as well. Because I think if you don't handle this the right way, which I feel like because of if you'd have done something after the Memphis game, for example,
Mm-hmm.
you had players that could bail because of the 4-game thing and get the red
Yeah.
shirt, get it back. There'll be some of that if you were to make a change after this game at the top.
Mm-hmm.
You might still have some of that for players that haven't played all 5 games, or you're going to have some problems, regardless. But how worse can it be than it is right now? And then it's again about going and making the next hire that could make it actually worse than it is right now. I mean, what could be worse than 2-3 would be 0-5 against this schedule. I don't know any coach that wouldn't have been able to take the talent at Arkansas, whatever you think of it, and still beat Alabama A&M. But you might have someone that could have, hit the iceberg against Arkansas State at War Memorial
Yeah.
Stadium. I'm not trying to say hang on to Sam. What I'm saying is have a plan. And I know we're
Yeah.
repeating that, but when you jump out
It's
there and say a change is needed, you can't just lop off heads without some
yeah.
executable vision for getting it in an improved direction and something that everybody's going to buy into and not think, oh boy, yeah, we're ready for a change, but what are they really doing up there now that they're ready to make the change?
Yeah, it's not a simple fix by any stretch. And like you say, a plan. And that's another thing too when you tell people, well, we need the resources to be able to improve it. How are you going to improve it? People want to know a plan. And we still don't know the plan, and that's just so
Well,
key because how
think
do you
about it.
sell
Just
it? You can't just say, "Hey, give me $5, I'll make your life better." I mean, you've got to give people a reason to want to give you money. You
one of
got
the
to
things is
sell.
if you're gonna go try to get another coach, a coach that's had success or like they're tracking for the next opportunity. What have you said from your AD in the last week? We can't compete with the other teams in our league in NIL, and you know you're going to have to convince a coach that would want to come here and see the value in the program that you're going to be able to back him up with enough resources to get players, to build a staff, that may cost. There's more than one thing that matters, and right now the from the top above Pittman and Yurichek, the words
Mhm.
that came out within the past couple of weeks doesn't add confidence for your brand moving forward if you are looking to identify the right hire.
Yeah, I mean, and that's going to be the first question a coach asks now. What kind of NIL situation am I walking into? And you can't give a real rosy answer right now if you're Arkansas because there's just too many unknowns right now. It's tough. Um, so, I mean, almost, and if money's an issue, which by all indications from all the comments we hear, it is, are you not maybe better served to wait until his buyout drops as the record gets below 500? It's granted it's 3 million, but if you're strapped for cash, 3 million is a huge number.
It's a consideration for sure. I mean, I think that's part of the reason to maybe draw it out a little bit. I mean, you could make a move before the season ends if the Arkansas continues to lose and he gets below 500 the way the contract's set up. Mm-hmm. He's 2 games below 500 since being at Arkansas, but that 3-7 first season COVID year doesn't count the way his contract's drawn up, going into what his record is. Once he dips below 500, the buyout goes down to 50%. Instead of 75% of what he's owed for the rest of this year, plus 2 more on the contract. So you're right, about $3 million. $2.5 million really is the difference there between 2.5 and 3. That's a consideration. Making a change now, again, I could see some value in it if you've got the right people signing checks or like, look, I can't see another day of this. I haven't, maybe I haven't stepped up, and I'm ready to step up now.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things would have to kick in. And I think looking above the guy that's above the head coach, what confidence level do some of these folks have, some of these boosters, some of the money folks have in Hunter Yurachek?
I thought it was interesting during the game. I noticed they had a shot of Sam, and Hunter is behind him in the team area. And it seems, I don't know if he always is down there, but to me, the AD ought to be up working the suites and reassuring boosters and things like that, not down on the field. That was kind of just my opinion. I thought that was just kind of an odd place to be, especially with all the turmoil going on. You got to be kissing babies and squeezing hands right now and rally the troops. But maybe that's just not who he is. And obviously after the Little Rock speech, I guess that's not too surprising because that did not rally anybody.
By the way, this was we haven't really talked about this. It was a kickoff, but it was a big stage opportunity. The first time Arkansas ever played a game, you're getting them in your stadium. It's a, top 5 brand all time in college football, arguably number 1 when you think about, beyond just adding up every program's national titles. So it was an opportunity coming into today, an opportunity that Arkansas sees to lay an egg everywhere. But you also, from the basketball part, which is what I mostly cover, you had a couple of unofficial visitors in from the in-state. You had former and pro Hog in-state guy, Bobby Portis in there. You had the basketball Tim Calipari. Looked like watching it on television here. Looked like some of the content that came out from the game, they were introduced at some point and were filled. So you have the basketball flavor to it, and you get a strong brand there. And I don't think Arkansas snuck any official visitors in that they're trying to close on in this November period. But I brought basketball up to take too light of it. But Arkansas only had one on campus for a football game out of 6 they brought in the last 4 weeks, and that was for the Alabama A&M game. This is their opportunity to be at home to be a visitor, but they didn't have one unofficial guys that are already in-state guys. One of them's already committed. He's already played here, proud of the program. But you get the point. Calipari's been aligning his visits with the football teams, getting them when they're on the road or 6 weeks of bye week. We'll see if Arkansas brings in more unofficial and or official visitors. But you almost wonder, would there have been a negative side of the official visitors? Because to start the day, the fan atmosphere was great. But anytime you hear boos in your stadium going into halftime, maybe it was for the best that didn't happen.
Yeah, I know there were some fire chants that were trying to start in the student section, and those were quelled by ushers or officials or somebody, but they tried to nip that in the bud with the student section. So I think they just got up and left. Some people are saying, okay, go get Nick Saban. Not going to happen. I mean, I hate to dash dreams, but that's not happening. He's not walking through that door. He left a pretty good situation in Alabama. I can't imagine at his age he would want to take on this program, and you're going to see a lot of names for a lot of openings. A lot of them up and comers and whatnot. Yeah, they'd be nice to have, but it's not going to be realistic because there are going to be better jobs that are going to be open, I'm sorry, than Arkansas probably in this off season. So you've got to find somebody, identify a good coach, not worry about winning the press conference, and have patience because this is, even with the portal, it's going to be a 2-3 year process, maybe even longer, because there's a lot of dysfunction in this program, and I don't know that you can root it out within a year, even with the portal. Is that realistic?
Maybe.
I mean, just given the roster size, man, that's a tough task.
It is. You know, you had Lou Holtz in the hog gear today. Does he still have a little fire in the belly? Do you think he could?
He can motivate.
I mean, he's one of the greatest
else.
motivators of all time.
Yeah,
and a Hall of Fame coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but honestly, you know, I was looking at Lou Holtz and I was thinking, could he have stirred and gotten more out of this Arkansas team with 2 weeks in the building and get to know people and push the right buttons? Could he have gotten more out of this team today, having them for 2 weeks? I know that sounds ridiculous, but it goes to show you how bad things are, and that's the point I'm making.
Yeah, no,
I mean, you know. Yeah, Nick Saban, he's not leaving Aflac commercials and, you know, being on the college game day crew. He's not leaving that to come to Fayetteville for this.
No.
But then you can't go into it with the attitude that you don't. If you could get the right people that sign checks behind you, you better swing big, because Arkansas can be a program that's at worst middle of the SEC, and in some years better than that. They're not near that right now, but that's what they could be.
Yeah.
So it's just about go get the person that has that vision, shares that vision. And again, there's all these questions, you know, there's all these complexities with NIL and, you know, how long does it take to rebuild? Who's the right guy to do that? You know, who's a fixer? Do you want, you know, there've been coaches that are really good fixers in the short term, but not necessarily long-term guys. So there's all kinds of, you know, navigation, and it's almost a minefield, but you can't let that shut you down and say, well, we'll just stand pat, because this is not working.
Yeah.
You're spiraling toward bottom tier again.
Yeah, it's almost like you need a fixer just to get the program back on level footing, and then maybe get somebody who can take it from there and take it up. But to find somebody who can take it from the bottom all the way to the top, everybody's looking for that guy, and I don't know that very many schools have found that guy.
Well, I think one thing is, who's assessing really how to sell the value and the good qualities that Arkansas brings as a program, and then marrying that to coaching candidates out there that you could see, okay, this is the kind of guy, if we plug him in here, he's going to get it. He's going to embrace it. And the things that we have that are positive, that are kind of under the radar, we just can't get over the hump. This guy's going to get it. And he's going to get us there. That's a delicate thing. You could still be wrong if you try to, get all the stars to align. That's why, this is, to me, bigger than Hunter Yurichek. There's other people that are helping in these decisions. And, money goes a long way. Everything else takes the bus. Money gets there quick, and it goes a long way. It doesn't mean it's going to be perfect and it's going to land it just right, but that's what they need. They need folks that love Arkansas sports, love Arkansas football. It's had a proud history, to step up. It's easy for me to say it's not my money, but there is a way for this to happen, Blair, and could be good for the program and not take forever to get it turned around. But who's pushing those buttons? Who's going to dial that up? Who's going to take the lead on that and get the right people around him to make it happen? What we heard from Yurichek, again, down at the Little Rock Touchdown Club, did not sound like someone to me that has his finger on the pulse of that. It just didn't.
Yeah,
Not close.
which is, and don't forget he's on the college football playoff committee too. So it just really, that really comes off bad. Mention all that, and let's not forget next year the league goes to 9 games,
Yeah.
conference games.
Yeah, we just saw the schedule.
Yeah, and you've got to play a 10th game against a Power 4 opponent. So you're talking 10. I mean, the days of the 4 patsy non-conference games are over. So you're going to have maybe 2 patsies now.
Well,
that's going to make it even harder to get this thing turned around because you're really looking uphill.
Yeah, I mean, you may go 2-10 this year. Let's just say that happens. Your 2 patsies were your first 2 games. Notre Dame and Memphis on the road weren't exactly a pathway to getting to locking in 4 wins, needing only 2 more and find 2 more in league play to get to a bowl. But again, that shouldn't be the standard for what you're trying to do at Arkansas. That sounds like desperation. Yeah, it just got tougher with the way the schedule is going to fall moving forward. You're not set up to look at that and go, bring it on. You're set up for some really tough days ahead. Because we don't know how this is going to land. We don't know what directions this goes. Other than I feel like after today, barring some miracle, this is Sam Pittman's last year at Arkansas. And how soon do we all know that for a fact? Because it's out there in the public ether and has been announced. I think to me that's the only thing remaining here. It's academic. When? Because I don't think he gets a year 7.
Yeah, I would be very shocked. And also, you mentioned the non-conference. I think Utah rolls onto the schedule next year. You've got Oklahoma State, who's down, but they beat you last year, and that was the last Power 4 win that Mike Gundy had. You still got a return trip to Notre Dame. They're not slowing down anytime soon. So I mean, you've got a pretty big rebuilding job ahead just to even tread water right now in the SEC. So, man, I mean, it's a tremendous opportunity, but man, you're gonna have to sell it a lot better than you've sold the state of the program to date to get somebody in here to fix it. Do you go young and take a chance on an up-and-comer, or do you find somebody who's got experience and go that route?
Yes and yes. Whatever it takes. You just got to get the right guy. Here's what's amazing to me, and it may have been some of the comments, and maybe you read a couple of them, but we've gone this far in this segment, and we really haven't talked about Bobby Petrino as I'll take what's behind door number 3. Because I think that ship has sailed too on many levels. I don't think, even if it's an interim situation and there's some pathway for that to happen, at this point, I don't think that should be a serious contender to lead this program beyond perhaps finishing out the year if you decide to move on before the end of the year. There are people that will clamor for that. Some that do. I think for me, I'm speaking for myself. I can't speak for others. I think Arkansas needs new blood. And even if it's someone that's got familiarity from the state, maybe was on a staff at Arkansas at some point, that might be okay if it's the right guy. But generally speaking, I'm a no for Petrino being in charge of the program beyond maybe a Band-Aid through the rest of the season. Now, some people will disagree with that. The guy was a hell of a head coach over a decade ago while he was here. I just don't know how much he wants on his plate in that direction. I don't know what the university is willing to do because of the way he departed the last time in terms of being in that kind of role. Again, other than temporarily. I don't know your thoughts, Blair. What do you think?
There's some questions about that, whether or not he can be in a supervisory role like that, from what I understand, because he was fired with cause. And that's university policy first and foremost. But I also wonder, too, if do you want him in charge of the whole enchilada, or do you want him to just focus on doing what he does best, and that is draw up plays and coach offense and be the OC? you might be better served just keeping him in that silo and try to fix the other silos that are broken. I mean, it's
Yeah.
primarily the defense.
It is, but the offense has been with opportunities to win the previous 2 weeks. They scored a total of 10 second half points, and it's the same stuff on that side of the ball. These killer penalties, killer turnovers, killer lost yardage plays, and I'm not saying that's all Petrino, but what I do think is even as good as they are between the 20s and having one of the top offenses when you get total yards per game, and stats can be deceiving.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, I don't care how good you look statistically in some ways. If you're losing games and you're losing them in a variety of ways, and you're finding ways to, when there's an opportunity on the table to go win, and you're snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, a lot of that's been on the offense too. The defense certainly. So again, I mean, I'm not trying to just rip everybody. I'm just being honest. I don't know that I like a vision of settling for a guy that's had success as a head coach, no doubt, certainly at Arkansas, but I think that time has passed. And maybe he even feels that way. I can't speak for him, but I just think Arkansas needs to retool here in terms of top to bottom in this program.
Yeah, I mean, maybe short term he's your best answer, but I mean, it's been 10 years since he was the head coach here, and the college football landscape has changed immensely in those 10 years. So, head coaches are dealing with NIL, the portal, and everything else. It is totally a different game now. And that's why you see a lot of these guys get out of being a head coach and go be an offensive coordinator, like Chip Kelly did from UCLA to Ohio State last year. Malzahn leaving UCF and going to Florida State to be the OC. So I don't know, it's quite the quandary Arkansas finds itself in. And again, we appreciate you joining us on this live special edition. It's just no one anticipated. Yesterday, everybody was excited for the game, and now today, everybody's angry, and here we are.
I really wasn't excited for this game in terms of expecting anything in terms of a win.
Yeah.
I thought Arkansas would be competitive, though.
Yes.
And I thought they might have a chance in a one-score game at home to maybe figure out a way to win it. And, now you're 18 minutes into the game trying to figure out where's John Gruden and what color tie is he wearing today on a Saturday. Where's the Gruden meter right now for the, it's just, this is this is like a never ending series of embarrassments these last 3 weeks for one reason or another. And I just don't think the mentality of this team personnel wise is built to dig in and overcome that. They could prove me wrong. I just don't see it when I look at the structure and the staff and the players together. And,
it's not working.
Have all four wheels fallen off yet? Maybe not, but it's starting to shimmy, shake, and at least one or two are off heading down the second half of the season here.
Yeah, there's some wheels grinding on the pavement, and some sparks are flying right now.
They came off today.
Yeah, it was just absolutely atrocious.
Are we getting any rich comments, Blair? I can't see.
Yeah, I'm trying to look over at the comments. Just a lot of comments, not a lot of questions. People are frustrated. I get it. And it's tough, too. I mean, a lot of people planned their weekend around this game, came up to Northwest Arkansas, spent money, the most important thing, they gave of their time. And now they may not come back. And that's tough for an athletic department that's trying to generate revenue, because you need people to come back. Because game day is a big thing. It can make some money, but I don't know. The pocketbooks may start talking now, and that does force change, as we've seen in this state.
Yeah, if you boycott, they boycotted the second half, right? How many people came back at halftime? I don't.
I saw some videos.
Um,
I mean, it looked like there was someone was handing money out outside the stadium because people were flooding out of the stadium. And then on TV,
well,
you noticed that they did not show a lot of wide shots. And when a couple snuck in, it was Chad Morris level era empty seat
yeah, it was.
shots. It was
Look,
quite noticeable.
but you can't blame the fans. Being seated
No.
in Razorback Stadium today was hazardous to your health. It was
Yes.
not a good. It was not good for anybody.
Yeah.
Um,
Get
so
that blood pressure
get out,
checked.
save yourselves, save yourselves. You gotta laugh a little bit because if not,
Yeah.
it's heartbreaking to watch the program in the current. I mean, it's
The
it's
last three
just
games, just yeah. I
it's
mean,
beyond understanding for what an SEC program should be. I mean, even if you lose, you should be more competitive than what we saw today. This is
there's
not a
hope.
juggernaut you just lost to,
Yeah. Well,
like that.
there's no hope right now. I mean, there is absolutely no hope with the football program. Basketball, there's hope. Baseball, hope. Soccer, hope. Softball, hope. There's just not with football.
Track
There's
and
nothing you
field.
can really point to. Except Branham, he's going to be a really good offensive lineman. He showed some flashes today, but
Right.
man,
Um, Nolan Richardson, going back to basketball, used to say all sickness isn't death.
yeah,
But boy,
this is sick.
when's the healing coming? Let me show me
Yeah,
that. I mean, if you're in a coma and you're not responsive and you're basically, you know, time for the plug. I mean, that's kind of where I think this is right now. I think Arkansas is on life support with the football program and the leadership in it. And at some point, you got to just pull it and move on and get bad analogy maybe, but move in another direction, man. Let's get this thing. Let's get this thing maybe turned around here sooner rather than later.
yeah. You just got to give people some hope, something. I mean, you're going to Knoxville next week, 100,000 plus. I mean, the schedule does
Hmm.
not get. I mean, there are no breaks in this schedule. We'll see how everything plays out tonight, but I mean, Mississippi State's playing. Everyone left on
Yeah.
your schedule is playing well. There are no gimmies left.
Oh, everybody left on your schedule is like, okay, we're going to hang half 100 in this one.
Oh gosh.
We're going to hang half 100. We just need to get enough. They'll turn it over once or twice. They'll shoot themselves in the foot on a couple of more drives with penalties, and we'll hang half 100. Put the dub on the schedule now. I mean, that's a bit of a little sarcasm there, but the point is Arkansas looks like a win to everybody right now that's left on the schedule.
Yep. I mean, if you're an offensive coordinator left on Arkansas' schedule, you are licking your chops to face
Oh,
that defense. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And because of that, we've mentioned the offense. You're putting so much pressure now on the offense that they're probably out of rhythm. So now everything's
right.
out of rhythm, and it's just
Well, this is Blair when Notre Dame put its second string offense in late in the game, and they had that touchdown scoring drive. They had 2 or 3 plays in that drive where their skill player ran in the wrong direction, ran into a defender, and still made positive yards and made first down. Like they weren't 100% on point when that second unit came in, and they were still making a mockery of that defense. And Arkansas had its
yeah,
starters out there, and I was just sitting there going, I can't imagine any scenario where this gets better. And that's probably true if you do fire someone on that defensive part of the side of the ball. But even still, you got to draw a line in the sand. You got to shake something up right now, even if it's not necessarily going to turn things around now. You got to start showing the fan base that you're self-actualized as what's going on right now, that it's not acceptable.
yeah.
Even if someone loses their job over that's how I see it. It's unacceptable. And maybe it doesn't a quick fix, but we're going to do something here.
Yeah. Try something, anything. Yeah. I mean, I was shocked the first team guys were out there as long as they were. Man, get the backups in there. Granted, there's a reason probably they are the backups, but I mean, get them some experience because if they're close, I mean, what you had wasn't working. So, I mean, and Lord forbid if one of the starters gets hurt. I mean, I don't know. It's just you got to do it. Just even if they're not as good, you still put them in because at least it looks like you're trying to do something instead of just throwing the
Well,
starters out there and just it's just a mess. A
I,
mess.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I've seen 11 players on the field that take a good angle on a play and immediately make it a bad angle. And then when they get contact, they're getting drug extra yardage or they're not wrapping up. I mean, I'm like, how many ways I mean, you're out of position to begin with. And when you have angles, you ruin your angle by doing something, by hesitating or taking the wrong step. And it's not just one guy. All it takes is one guy for the play to blow up. But when you got multiple guys doing that, that's where you see dudes just skipping into the end zone with no one around them. Backpedaling into the end zone they could have today. They had 4 or 5 touchdowns where the player could have turned around and hopscotched in or backstepping. And, I'm glad they didn't do that. I'm just saying they could have.
Well,
That tells you everything you need to know about this defense.
The one Notre Dame player did, I think. But it's like, yeah, I'm okay. I mean, how bad is the scout defense? The scout defense must just be awful. So how does the offense get better if you don't have anybody that can play defense down there?
I don't have an answer. This is as bad as I've seen it on that side of the ball, and then the other things are just kind of make it worse when you offense. I think Arkansas's offense is really fragile between the ears.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's talent there, and some of the play design, all that's fine. You get a lot of yards between the 20s, and then they just have these mental breakdowns at the point where either they're not going to get a touchdown and they've got a long field goal now, or maybe they're pushed out where they've got to go for it on 4th and 17 because they're down 3 times. It's just so. Again,
there's a lot of pressure on the offense when the defense isn't going to make a stop.
Right, but the offense has had its problems too when the game's close. There's pressure there, knowing that your defense may not get a stop the next time.
Yeah.
So I better score. Yeah, there's some pressure element to that. But hey, that's why you're getting paid NIL. That's why you're in the SEC. Yeah. Go do the job. Go do the job. And so I think, you can't completely remove the players from the calculation. Here's their part in it.
Yeah.
But man, it's always about leadership when you see so much wrong in every aspect of the game, whether it's miscues, and that's turnovers, penalties, bad plays, offense, defense, even special teams. I mean, it's hard to look at special teams even. Special teams is not impacting this season right now because other teams aren't having to punt. They're kicking off a lot, and most of them are kicking out of the end zone. You're not going to get a return. I don't know what Arkansas would do in the return game if they could return one. This is not a season where you're in a lot of tight defensive struggles where special teams can change the outcome. So we can't even really put a lot of onus on how bad the special teams are. And again, the offense has put up a lot of stats, but they're not really helping the cause of winning either. And the defense, you're like, come on, we said it. What else can we say about it? It's horrendous.
Well, you mentioned leadership, and this thought just occurred to me. Is there leadership within the team itself somebody to step up and say, hey, enough is enough. We got to come to play. And maybe that happened at halftime because they came out a little bit of a different team to start the second half till they got punched in the mouth. Like Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth. And they got punched in the mouth again. But you wonder if internally they have leadership, and somebody said, because you think about all the good teams Arkansas has had, there's been tremendous leadership within the team, and that goes for all sports.
Well, if there are leaders in there, I can't say that there aren't. I'm not in the room. I don't know that there's not some good leaders on that team. They got, you have that many players. There's probably some quality in there. But the problem is, if you're getting failed by the leaders above their pay grade, which are their coaches, that doesn't. There may. I mean,
Yeah,
I can't think of any
situations.
I can't think of a successful team that started slowly or poorly, where the leadership within a handful of players was able to overcome a lack of leadership in their coaching staff. There may be some examples of that where teams turn it around despite a bad coaching staff and a really bad one because some of the team leader. I don't know that I'm aware of a situation like that. I think it's great to have the right guys on the field pushing the right buttons as team leaders, but I think they got to be backed up with solid, put in positions to succeed, and a solid coaching core that they come fall under that umbrella. I don't think Arkansas has that. I just don't. I think it's dysfunctional.
Okay, that's extremely fair, and that's one of the things leadership does is making sure people are put into the right situations so they can succeed. And right now, Arkansas is not succeeding.
Well, there'll be some people who say, "Well, look, Arkansas again. They don't have the resources. They're not spending the money, the overall budget, the NIL, and you get what you pay for." And that's it. But that's not exactly right, because there are other teams that are, on par with Arkansas, maybe in terms of their overall budget and how much they're able to spend and this and that are finding ways to succeed at a better level than Arkansas is right now.
Yeah,
and the fact that you lost to Memphis, you just can't. You can't just look away from that and go, "Oh, that doesn't count." Of course it does. What's the excuse against Memphis? What is it? Because you've got a level playing field there in terms of you got more than a level playing field. They were the underdog when you start looking at budgets and NIL and that kind of thing, and there wasn't a whole lot of difference in those teams in terms of quality, other than one team had the stones to finish the game and play clutch. The other one did not.
Yeah, no, and once you get on the field, all that stuff, you can't change it at that point. But effort, you can control what you can control, and you can control your effort. And the effort has been lacking, especially on the defensive side.
I mean, it's almost like, and I'm looking at some of this stuff, and I'm not going to accuse a Razorback or any situation of intentionally, but there's a fine line between, just gosh awful effort and intentionally laying down. I mean, intentionally laying down requires a purposeful intent to quit. I don't think it's that. But when it's collectively so bad and you can see the lack of effort, there's a fine line there where it makes your mind wonder, what's going on here? How could it be that bad?
Well,
so I'm going to be careful and not accuse players of doing stuff intentionally, while at the same time going, where's the passion? Where's the fire?
Where's the pride?
All of it. I mean,
where's the pride in what you were doing? Take pride. You take pride in your work.
But I think the coaches have to. I think the coaches have to lead and show their core. Their position
sense
core.
Of urgency.
The defensive unit, the offensive unit, and break it down by position. The leadership's got to be in a way where they're following that in a positive way, and then we start to see that those things then start to snowball in a good way. Players getting on the same page, playing with that extra passion, that extra fire, believing that what they're doing matters and it's going to, lead to winning plays, which lead to winning games. And what I see are like people that can't wait to get off the field. I can't wait to get out of here. That's what it looks like. So no, I'm not saying that they've intentionally quit, but it's got this give up vibe to it once you have some adversity. And there's a lot of adversity, especially you're not having any wins on defense right now. You're just not. By the time you're down, you've given up 30-something points in the first half, and you get a defensive stop to start the third quarter, you're down by 3+ touchdowns already. So to say that there was proof of life on that defense is really not a genuine statement to make. It's better than the alternative of not getting any stops at all ever, but it just didn't convince me of anything, and they continue to have problems through the rest of the half.
Yeah. Well,
Didn't give up as many points.
Yeah. Well,
But to some degree, Notre Dame wasn't playing with the same edge either that it had building up that big lead.
Oh, no. I mean, it was obvious they had taken their foot off the gas in the second half.
Right. So
Understandably, too. But, okay, I think I tried to talk about this when we had the connection problem earlier, and I ask you now. The opening drive, you attempt a field goal, you make it, but you had 4th and short. You got a home crowd that's amped up beyond belief. And after what happened at Ole Miss, I was shocked that they elected to kick a field goal in an opening drive and not go for it.
yeah, because your defense is gosh awful and is yielding touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. The stats bear that out.
Field goal.
You're basically saying again. I go back to
it's a mentality, isn't it?
If you thought that you had a capable defense, even if it's average, okay, I could see that. But you know what this is, and you got to outscore the other team in a shootout. It means you need touchdowns, and means you got to figure out how to overcome adversity, and take on a 4th and short, make a statement. Conventional football thinkers are saying no, that early in the game, you go ahead and kick a field goal, take the points. I can't wholeheartedly debate that, other than what do you think's coming when you kick off to the other team? What do you think's about to happen? Yeah. What has this defense shown you against teams with a pulse? It is a sieve. They are going to give up touchdowns. This is a game of touchdowns. Field goal to me for Arkansas right now should only be in 4th and long when it's within range, or to end a half because there's not enough clock to finish a drive, or to finish a close game and a field goal will help you win it, and it's not bizarrely too far out of reach. I'm not saying don't ever kick a field goal. You got a good field goal kicker, a young one, good one, but you're not playing for field goals to win the game, to build your offense around.
Yeah, it's a mindset. It's an aggressive mindset, and we just don't see it. And then you get steamrolled.
Well, we're on a roll here. We've been on over an hour. I don't think did we settle anything? We didn't get to hire or fire anybody.
Yet.
We didn't. No one gave us the reins of the program, and good thing they don't. I don't have any answers other than I think it's time for a change, and how soon that becomes academic wouldn't hurt my feelings at all if it happened like I said, within the next week or two with the bye week. So the sooner the better, sometime this week. And you could level that up from a coordinator all the way to the top, and I wouldn't have a problem with it unless I also learned that it was just done as a complete knee-jerk reaction without any kind of viable plan to make this a positive moving forward and get your program turned around.
Okay. Well, I'm seeing some possible. Okay. There's some speculation that a move is coming, but I haven't seen anything from anybody that would make me think that it is. 10th largest crowd in school history. So everybody showed up today. The support was there, and just, I don't know. It's just, I think everyone would be waiting on bated breath, and I'm sure there are going to be some midnight oil burned in the Broyles Center this evening.
Yeah.
Are phone calls being made across the to certain people in the state, you think, right now?
Absolutely.
Okay.
This is unacceptable. The only blessing here, Blair, is that it was an 11 a.m. kickoff, and you didn't have it in prime time, and you didn't have it at the 2:30 slot. And it's not much of a blessing because every cable outlet out there is going to have this and show the highlights or the lowlights. It's Notre Dame, even if this was an unranked Notre Dame team, they're going to get their time on the air with their game highlights.
Oh yeah.
There are no blessings is the point. This is bad. This is bad. And I think something's got to happen sooner rather than later is my opinion. Doesn't mean that I believe until I see something that's ever going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah.
Because of the because and it's not just what's been going on the last couple of years. If you look at Arkansas historically since joining the SEC, they're slower to move in terms of making a change and trying to correct the direction of the program. Other programs are more aggressive, and in a lot of instances, it's been to their advantage, and they found success doing that. It doesn't always land that way. And again, you don't want to just, be a butcher. You want to be a surgeon, but you might need to be a little bit of a butcher for a minute. Just, might want to embrace the butcher badge and lop someone's head off. I hate to say it that way, as a reaction, and then get the wheels turning on the big change, the ultimate change. And how high up does that go? That's another question mark.
Yeah. Well, Sam talked in the press conference. He's mad at himself, but it's I get, if it was the fans, I'd be mad at me too. Hell, I'm mad at me, to be perfectly honest. I get it. He was asked about his job in the press conference, and what's he going to say? Pull out a knife and fall on it right there? I doubt it. But there are decisions that, as you've alluded to, that need to be made and will be made over the coming hours, and everybody will be waiting with bated breath. You mentioned the timing of it, and it occurs to me this is probably, as bad as it was the best case for Arkansas to be the early game today, because the games today are phenomenal, which we are all missing right now talking about this, because you've got a tremendous 3:30 slate. You've got a tremendous primetime slate. Now, the downside is the halftime shows are going to be ugly. When they show the highlights, it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
But at least there'll be some good games on that we can enjoy. Much more than the one we saw today.
Yeah, I'm shutting it down for football today, Blair. I got to tell you, once we're done here, I'll have it on in the back. I'll have it on in the background, but I'm not going to have the volume up too high. And I'm not going to be watching halftime shows, and I'm not watching Sports Center tonight.
Yeah,
I might actually cave in and do some of that. But right now, I'm at the point where I'm just kind of fed up. This is the one thing about being in the media. Growing up in the state, I mean, look at the background here, man. I've got a Razorback room in my house.
Mm-hmm.
I try to be as objective as I can as a journalist and covering this, and I try to call balls and strikes. But at the same time, while that can be true, so can just owning the fact that, you expect more from the program you cover, especially one you grew up with your family cheering for. And that's some of your first memories as a 4-year-old is how loud it would get in the living room during a football game or during a basketball game,
Yeah.
And so to whether you're covering the game, which I have a couple of articles I'll still got to do later today, in terms of, what do I say about this except be brutally honest? And it doesn't come just from a fan standpoint. It comes from an objective standpoint of, this is ugly. This is toxic. It may not be the kind of thing that's the kind of toxicity of personalities and infighting and all that, but a guy that smiles and is a good fella, good old guy like Sam Pittman, and he goes to the press conference and says, I'm mad at myself too. Look, that's not good enough. This is not good enough. This is a dysfunctional football experiment in 2025, whatever you want to call it. It's awful and ugly. Yeah. And nice guy, not nice guy, turmoil, whatever. Everybody likes each other. I don't care about all those dynamics. What I care about is what happens now to show that there's some sense of self-actualization as a program. This is not acceptable. We must turn a page. That's it. That's what I'm looking for. So call me a homer, call me a fan, tell me whatever you want in terms of that, but that's how I see it. And I think for the casual fan that's not dialed in and hasn't paid attention to Arkansas and the SEC because they're not in the conversations at the top, most fans pay attention to that. Just looking at today, not knowing any of that, the casual fan out there is going, that's a bad product right there. That looks dysfunctional. Something's wrong. I don't see how they could see it any other way.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And I think some people have, it's not when when you say a coach is not doing their job, it's not attacking the individual. You're attacking the position. And I think people don't separate the two. You can like somebody and admit they're not doing well in their job.
Right.
And I don't think people have a problem with Sam
hard.
Pittman, the person. But as the head coach of the Arkansas Razorbacks, it's not working. And that's not an attack. That doesn't make him a bad person. It's just the reality. It's not working.
Well, it's okay if it's an attack, just not on the personality and the person's character. This could be the hardest working coaching staff in the country, for all I know. It's not working, and you can attack that.
Yes,
you can certainly attack that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The results.
We're on the same page there.
Yeah. It's just, it's mind-boggling, but it's not good. So,
Blair, thank you, by the way, for the graphics. Thanks for getting me pulled back in here. I don't know what problems we had earlier, but we were on par with the football, the football team's defense, and I think it was contagious for a little bit until we snapped out of it. But we've been on over an hour. Appreciate everybody.
We're going to do better next time too. Yeah.
Chat too. We'll get that going. Thanks everyone for joining us. This is a special edition of Hogvillenet YouTube, and we're live. We say that special editions, I mean, we do this after every game now. We can't even use the headline special edition. It'll just be a reoccurring series at that point.
Yeah.
This is a special situation for sure right now, but once it becomes commonplace, it's even worse.
Yeah.
And we can't even run with the tagline. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Signing off now. Blair, get us out of here. Thanks, everybody.